Welcome to the Ultimate Emergency Fund Guide. Today we will tackle the tension between safety and growth by deciding how much cash belongs in your emergency fund. We will also show you how to calculate your true emergency need and where to store it, with diagrams to make it crystal clear. Let's begin. Here is our roadmap. First, we will define why an emergency fund matters. Next, we will set a safety target based on your situation. Then, we will calculate your true emergency need. After that, we will cover where to keep your cash. We will weigh the trade-offs of too little versus too much cash. Along the way, we will test your knowledge with short quizzes. Finally, we will close with an action plan and pro tips. This video is for educational purposes only and does not constitute financial, tax, or legal advice. Everyone's situation is unique, so please consult a qualified professional for advice tailored to your personal circumstances. Emergencies often occur without warning. With a dedicated emergency fund, a crisis becomes manageable instead of destructive. In addition, your emergency fund protects your long-term investments by preventing you from selling at the wrong time. Therefore, it is a critical foundation for financial stability. Let's set your safety target. The classic guidance is 3 to 6 months of essential expenses. However, many experts now recommend 6 to 12 months for people who face higher risks, such as significant fixed costs, dependence, an unstable industry, or long hiring cycles. Conversely, a leaner 3 months may work for those with low overhead, no dependence, strong job mobility, and strong social safety nets. If you are an aggressive investor, balance growth with a reliable cash runway. The key is to personalize your target to your actual risks rather than follow a generic rule. Here is how to calculate your true emergency need. First, assume zero income during the emergency. Do not count side hustles or variable pay. Second, list only essential expenses such as housing, utilities, food, transportation, insurance and healthcare, debt minimum payments, childcare, basic communications, and taxes. Third, calculate your bare-bones monthly budget that keeps you afloat. Fourth, factor in healthcare costs like COBRA or marketplace premiums, deductibles, copays, and medications. Fifth, choose a time horizon such as 3, 6, 9, or 12 months. Based on your risk profile. Sixth, incorporate known near-term risks, such as an upcoming move or industry volatility. Seventh, subtract reliable buffers like accrued paid time off, support you can actually access, or expected severance, but be conservative. Finally, compute your target. Bare bones monthly times months, plus healthcare and known risks, minus reliable buffers. Let's formalize the calculation. The formula is emergency fund target equals bare bones monthly expenses multiplied by the number of months, plus your healthcare load and known near-term risks, minus reliable buffers. Bare bones expenses include only essentials: housing, utilities, groceries, transportation, insurance, debt minimums, childcare, essential communications, and taxes. Exclude discretionary items such as dining out, vacations, non-essential shopping, and extra subscriptions, as well as investment contributions. To keep this organized, maintain a living spreadsheet or budgeting app with an emergency mode view. Use this checklist to build your bare-bones budget. Include housing costs, basic utilities, groceries, transportation, healthcare and insurance expenses, debt minimum payments, childcare and education essentials, necessary communications, and taxes. Exclude non-essentials like dining out and vacations. Store your emergency fund in safe and liquid vehicles. A high-yield savings account with FDIC or NCUA coverage is a strong default. Money market funds at reputable brokers can also be useful, but understand the underlying holdings and protections. Short-term treasuries or T-bills can be appropriate for a portion. Prioritize liquidity and safety over yield. Automate contributions and label the account to avoid accidental spending. This mind map connects key risk factors to a suggested emergency fund duration. If your job stability is high, you may lean toward 3 to 4 months. Medium stability suggests 5 to 8 months, and low stability supports 9 to 12 or more. Having more dependents or higher fixed costs increases the recommended duration. Healthcare risk and the length of hiring cycles also push the target higher. A strong support network can reduce the needed months, while a weak one increases it. Example profiles show that young, mobile workers without dependents might hold 3 to 4 months, whereas a single earner with dependents in a niche field may prefer 9 to 12 months. Here are the trade-offs. With too little cash, you may be forced to sell investments during market downturns, experience higher stress, miss bills, take on high-interest debt, and even damage your credit. With too much cash, you experience a performance drag, inflation erosion, and missed compounding in tax-advantaged accounts. To mitigate, set a clear cap for your emergency fund and automatically sweep excess into investments. This flowchart guides you from a general risk assessment through critical decisions about job stability, dependence and fixed costs, hiring cycle length, and healthcare risk. Each decision steers you toward an end node that recommends 3 to 4 months, 5 to 8 months, or 9 to 12 plus months. The chart also reminds you to revisit your target annually or after major life events. Quiz time. Which target is most reasonable for a dual-income household with no dependence in a stable industry? Option A, 3 months. Option B, 3 to 6 months. Option C, 6 to 12 months. Option D, 12 plus months. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is 3 to 6 months. With multiple incomes, no dependence, and a stable industry, a 3 to 6 month emergency fund balances safety with growth potential. Second quiz question. When calculating your emergency fund, should you count side hustle or gig income? Option A, yes, always. Option B, no, assume zero income. Option C, only count half of it. Option D, only if it feels guaranteed. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is to assume zero income. In an emergency, you should not rely on variable or uncertain income, because doing so can create a shortfall when you need cash the most. Here are practical tips. Automate contributions and increase them when your pay rises. Revisit your target annually and after major life events. Think of the emergency fund as insurance rather than an investment. Use tiers, placing the first tier in a high-yield savings account and a second tier in short-term treasuries or high-quality money market funds. Label the account clearly and keep it separate. Sweep balances above your cap into investments automatically. If you use the fund, set a clear timeline to replenish it. For aggressive investors, keep a reliable cash runway first, often 4 to 6 months depending on risks. A two-tier structure works well, 1 to 3 months in a high-yield savings account for immediate access, and the remainder in T-bills or a high-quality money market fund. After reaching your cap, automatically sweep surplus cash into tax-advantaged and brokerage accounts. Avoid using a home equity line of credit or margin as your primary emergency fund. Treat those as last resort backups. Rebalance annually as your expenses and risks change. This pie chart illustrates a sample allocation. 40% sits in a high-yield savings account as the immediate tier. 35% goes to a second tier of T-bills or a high-quality money market fund to cover 1 to 3 additional months. 15% represents cash for short-term goals, kept separate from your emergency fund. 10% is a small checking buffer. The specific percentages are just an example. Adjust to your needs. Let's wrap up. Personalize your emergency fund target, 3 to 6 months for lower risk and 6 to 12 for higher risk. Calculate your need assuming zero income, using a bare-bones budget and realistic healthcare costs. Store the fund where safety and liquidity come first, such as a high-yield savings account, money market funds, or T-bills. Set a cap and sweep excess cash into investments to minimize drag. Review your plan annually and after major life events. Thank you for watching. If this was helpful, please like, share, and subscribe. Tell us in the comments how many months you are targeting for your emergency fund and what your next step will be.